Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Problem with Authority podcast. I am your host, Kiersten Kelley, and it feels so good to be back. Thanks for being patient after my long August break, transitioning from grad school to adult life. And those of you who don't know, I am currently a school social worker back in my hometown to just transition and save some money and get some experience. So I'm super excited about that. But today we are going to be talking about the problem with the Texas abortion ban. I'm sure you are all aware of this decision that Texas has made. And I know a lot of people, especially with being on my Instagram, were upset. And you should be, because this is a problem. And we're going to talk about why. All right, let's get into it. So, the Texas ban bans abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. And that's before a lot of women even know that they're pregnant, which is an issue. And also, not just women, trans individuals and non binary folks as well. Women are not the only people that can get pregnant. And I think that's an important statement to make because this affects everybody. And you know what? It's I think a beautiful thing living in this time where we are acknowledging trans and non-binary individuals, because it really just, I think, unifies us in the sense of understanding and advocating for our rights as a whole. And the gender binary in general, I think it just can be really dangerous in a lot of ways. And it can put you in boxes and restrictions on you that I just don't think are fair. Especially when if you're assigned female at birth, and who you are. Like, that's not fair that you should have to live your life that way. So when things like this come out, it's important to acknowledge how they can affect everybody, and also what we need to do, not only to shut this bullshit down of the Texas ban, but also making sure that medical care and access to care is more inclusive. So with that being said, we're going to go into a little bit about what this abortion ban entails, and then we will get into how abortion clinics, medical care in general, can be more inclusive, and how we can advocate for that. Another thing that I thought that was interesting is that it says that anyone who successfully sues an abortion provider under this law could be awarded at least $10,000. So now we have bounties for people that participate in this nonsense. That's great. That's just great. Bounties of $10,000. Like, people are dying, people are not eating. Like, we're still experiences the crazy impact of COVID, and this is what we're worried about. Right here. This is what we're worried about. It's called a Texas Right to Life, whatever the heck that is, has set up what it calls a whistleblower website where people can submit anonymous tips about anyone they believe to be violating the law. So think about it. Like, you could be raped or not, get pregnant, and then your rapist or abuser or ex-partner who, is a little crazy, can go and like turn you in. And there's no like punishment for them for, you know, raping you. I see this over and over again. Like, our country protects rapists and pedophiles more than they do women. And yeah, I do believe that, because it's absolutely ridiculous. And this guy goes to say these lawsuits are not against women. Okay. It says the lawsuits would be against the individuals making money off of abortion, or the abortion industry itself, which is just like, it's crazy that that's how they want to spin this, right? Like, it's not against women. It's about the abortion and the abortion industry, right? But we have so many industries in this country that make money off of terrible things that actually hurt people, such as trafficking, just poverty in general. People make money off of people being poor all the time. Just our healthcare system in general. Like, this is what you guys are worried about. I just, no thanks. It's disgusting. Move on. Ugh, ew, it's so gross. I don't like reading it. And here's what a family medicine doctor from Texas who works for Planned Parenthood said. And for those of you who don't know, Planned Hair Planned Parenthood is amazing. It is I guess it is considered like a clinic that it doesn't just do abortions. It also does, access to birth control, access to I think like sex education and I honestly I'm not that knowledgeable on Planned Parenthood, but I think they do, help people like who are pregnant, and different things like that. But Parenthood's amazing. I've had interactions with them, nothing but great things to say. But this doctor who works in Planned Parenthood in Houston said that, this law creates a lot of uncertainty for patients and providers, which I can't imagine. I can't imagine what people are thinking right now because that means that, some people might be saying, "Oh, well, you can just go get an abortion in a different state." Well, not everybody has the resources or access to do so. So, what this means is that you live in Texas, the wealthy or, whatever are going to be the ones that are able to have access to to this medical procedure, which is there you go, like that there you go, another policy that negatively impacts people who have lower socioeconomic status. Like the cycle just always continues in a way that honestly is predictable at this point. And I don't even know what I don't even know. I would love to talk to a social worker who's out there right now about how they plan, to get their clients access to these to abortions. I'm sure social workers are coming up with some really sneaky and awesome ways to get it done, but it's just, ugh, I just can't imagine. Can't imagine. And also too, like maybe even if you think about it like on the personal level, like individuals that were able to get abortions in Texas before this came out, if they were if before the 6-week ban, how they might be feeling like, dang, like I had the privilege to be able to do that and now my friend doesn't. And like there might be like some guilt there, like some things that they might have to process for themselves, like, oh, I had access to this amazing thing and like now other people around me don't. Like, dang, like I was one of the last ones to get that done. Like obviously some gratitude, but also like maybe there's some things personally that they might be, having to process. Ugh. God. And I'm not talking about guilty about the abortion, that's not what I mean. Guilty that, like, they were able to do it and other people were not. And I know there's a lot of lawsuits going on right now in, you know, Texas that are targeting the anti-abortion groups. I guess that would be Texas Right to Life. That's what it is what I'm reading right here. And I know that a lot of people are protesting. I know that I can't I at this point the article said that the Supreme Court was silent, but I don't know for 100% sure, but I think the Supreme Court might have said something. But I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look at that. All right, so next we're going to move into an article by Annabelle. I want to say her last name right. Annabelle Sowimimo. I'm not saying that right, but I'm sorry, Annabelle. But she wrote an article here on Independent, which is titled Abortions Are for Everyone. It's time for fully inclusive services. And I 100% agree. So we're going to jump into the conversation that Annabelle is starting here. And when we think of access to healthcare and services, a lot of the times, a lot of people are sitting in a lot of privilege and they don't think about how not everybody has access to the same things that they do, especially inclusive services. So we want to move towards a place where everybody can have access, to the same resources. And here's a little statistic. So it's estimated that a quarter of all pregnancies end in abortion. The idea that abortion is always a clear choice is far too simplistic and minimizes the experiences of lots of those seeking abortion care. And I agree. Like a lot of people who are against abortion, when you hear their argument, I guess they I think oftentimes view it as like, oh, when a person is, considering the abortion option, that it's so simple and it's not complex and honestly I think even too that it's like an easy procedure because it's not like whether you are early enough to get the pill or if you have to do the surgery, the pill is still a lot. Like, it's painful. There's a lot of emotions that are going through both, and it's uncomfortable. Like, it's not people talk about it as if it's just like going and buying a water at the grocery store. I don't know why that's the thing that I thought of, but just as easy as walking in, buying something and walking out. It's not. Like, there's a lot that goes into making this choice. And I agree. I think it minimizes the experience of those who seek abortion care or who have gotten abortions. She also says that recently, the Department of Health and Social Care data revealed that Black women are more likely to report a consecutive abortion compared to their white and Asian counterparts. That's really interesting. She said, while the difference is small, there are many reasons for this that typical pro choice narratives simply failed to address. Those racialized as non white are likely to be paid 10% less than their white counterparts, even when educational attainment is adjusted for. So, Black women are heightened risk for experiencing intimate partner violence and less likely to receive adequate support when they do report it. So, here we're now jumping into the uh, intersectionality of all of this, right? So, when a policy like this comes out, people are affected differently. The wealthy are not going to be as affected as the poor. White individuals are not going to be as affected as Black, Asian, or just non-white individuals. So what they're saying here is that 10%, they're paid 10% less than their white counterparts. That means that they're paid less, even though they have the same education as white people, and which affects their access to resources. And then it goes further beyond in saying that Black women are at heightened risk of experiencing intimate partner violence, number one, and then less likely to receive adequate support if they report it. And I think that can play into intimate partner violence, like, can look different in many different ways, but that can include rape, which could result in a pregnancy. That could include if you do have a end up getting pregnant by a violent partner, that partner can then use this type of law to manipulate the system and hurt you even more. And then they're saying, as Black women, they don't receive support, like, at the bare minimum. So now this just puts up more barriers, and I definitely agree. And then this is one statistic that comes up often, that Black women are 5 times more likely than their white counterparts to die in childbirth, and Black babies are more likely to be stillborn. And then that's just a fact, and has to do with medical racism and the lack of uh just education and awareness around these issues. And not just education and awareness, but like the willingness to do something about it, to be honest with you. But next, we get into just the inclusivity of it all. So when it comes to statistics, Annabelle talks about, when it comes to statistics surrounding non-binary, gender non-conforming individuals, and healthcare in general, there's not a lot of studies on their experiences for them to be able to access healthcare. So this one study, the majority of respondents were not using contraception, as they incorrectly believe that gender affirming hormones would also act as contraception, leaving them at possible risk of unplanned pregnancy. So there's a lot of misinformation going around. There's not a lot of medical studies going around, and the data also could not be correct too, because a lot of times in our even when okay for example, when I went and got my COVID vaccine, when and this I got my vaccine at FSU, on the thing you had to fill out when it came to, like, my gender, I think it said at the top that you had to choose the gender that you were assigned to at birth. And in my head I was thinking, is that a little bit transphobic? Like, what's the reason behind that? And I do not know the answer to that. Somebody who is more experienced in that area could let me know. But I was just like, you know, are they putting that on there because for medical reasons, you know, that could be helpful information to know, or are they just not wanting to be inclusive? And typically how things go, it might just be that last one, not wanting to be inclusive. But when people aren't allowed to put their true uh, gender, like if they're trans or whatever or non-binary on a official document, then that affects how we pull data and what the data suggests, right? So the data from the US shows that poor reproductive health is even greater among Black, trans, and non-binary people, with significant rates of sexually transmitted infections and HIV. And there's little information on their experiences of accessing healthcare. And this is, I think, was in that study. Um, that study was from the UK, but it was talking about data from the US. So it's not fair because there's no education or studies being done on this. So it's just like, yeah, they have poor reproductive health, but it fails to mention that there's very little information on the experiences of them accessing healthcare and that they're actually allowed to get it and it actually be inclusive to their identity. So you see how people like twist their words to make it seem like further marginalize people and be like and stereotype people like, oh, that's their fault. It's their fault that they have poor reproductive health. Like, no, it's not their fault. They don't have access to it, right? And it says that it's difficult to determine how many gender nonconforming people are accessing abortion services because the current Department of Health reporting forms fail to include a box that collects gender information, which is basically the same thing what I talked about with the vaccine. Some places I see it, but I do not see it often. And this is interesting. The same form still includes a section on marital status, which is as useful as my passport has been proven to be in 2020. That's so true. That I don't understand why marital status is important. And get this. So today I was talking to my mom about insurance because I'm an adult now and blah blah blah. I gotta pay for insurance. But anyway, like I get insurance through my job, but I'm also on my parents' insurance. And so we're just trying to figure out if I want to pay my parents or if I want to pay my job for healthcare. And my mom was telling me today that because I'm 22 and I'm quote unquote in my prime and I can have children, even though I do not want children, my insurance is going to be higher because of the potential for me to have them that insurance would have to pay for. And that really pisses me off. So I am paying because I have the ability to have a child, even though I don't want one. And I asked her, like, if I got my uterus removed, would my insurance go down? And she said, probably. But when women turn, I think around 50, 55, something like that, she was saying, your insurance goes down tremendously. Like, are you kidding me? Are like what? Like just making this shit up. Disgusting. And then I also think it's weird that guys, I'm pretty sure their car insurance is higher because they're quote unquote more reckless. Like, what data are these people pulling from? Like, the fact that like data a lot of the time is just based on stereotypes and the boxes that they put us in. Like, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. This is another piece of information that I think is important. For those trans men and non binary people who continue with their pregnancy, there's little medical information available, and many experience transphobia and erasure from services. And that's 100% true. So when trans men and non-binary people are going through with their pregnancy, there's not medical information available to them that is specific to their experiences. And also, on top of that, they have to experience transphobia and erasure, which is just that's crazy because pregnancy is a serious thing. And when a lot of people, it stresses a lot of people out. You're making a whole human. That's a lot of work, you're doing there. And then you have to experience that stress of transphobia on top of that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is an interesting thing. I didn't know this, but there's an increase in intimate partner violence experienced by pregnant people. And providers should consider the additional mental burden that continuing with a pregnancy may take on those that already live in a world where survival can be a challenge. I think that statement right there really just says it all. Annabelle, you are amazing. Please come check out their article. It really it really just looks at this whole issue from a intersectional and inclusive perspective, which is where we should be going with this. And again, I'm going to say, like, I know that um people that were assigned female at birth and identify as women, it can be hard when you're hearing like, no, like abortion affects everybody, like da 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 da, and you want to hold on to that, like, wait, no, like you saying that hurts me because, and then we become against each other. No, your experiences that you went through or that you go through as a woman that was assigned female at birth, like does not is not taken away from you when we are also talking about trans men and non-binary individuals and how they are affected by this as well. If you are struggling with this in that realm and perspective, go back and listen to my episode with Catherine. Oh my gosh, what is it called? The problem with privilege in politics. Yes, go back and listen to that because we talk in there a lot about how in a movement, we get so emotionally involved that we start to forget how we are all in this together and how somebody else can just because somebody else like somebody else can be affected from abortion, that that is not a woman, doesn't mean that that takes away your experiences that you've had as a woman, and waking up every day and having this, having your rights freaking up for debate every single morning. Like, it's not just you. There's other people that have to go through this, and we should be collectively fighting together and listening to each other's lived experiences and lifting each other's voices and talking about this and advocating together and not being against each other, because the divide is what these people want. Like, point blank. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to me rant. And I hope that I was able to provide a little bit of a perspective for people that might have been struggling with this topic, as well as some new information for others that weren't quite sure. Please be sure to check out those articles, and also the woman that wrote the article for the NPR one, what the Texas abortion ban does and what it means for other states. Her name is Sarah McCammon. I just want to shout out to those women that are writing these articles for us. We appreciate you. We really, really do. You are here in the fight with us, and everybody plays a part in it, and we just got to continue to fight. And also, if anybody is feeling still really just run down by the news of this information, please seek out and try and talk to somebody and work through it, like maybe in a therapeutic setting or a friend or something, because it is normal to not feel okay about this and to feel stress, anxiety, and be scared, especially if you are in Texas. Like, this is not fair and it is scary, but try and find community, because this is a very serious thing and we need to make sure it doesn't happen anywhere else at Florida. But until then, I will see you guys later. Thank you for listening.